So CNN is hosting a climate crisis town hall event on September 4th for the Democratic primary candidates. I praise CNN for hosting a debate exclusively on the climate crisis, seeing as it is such a important issue for the security of the planet and the United States. I think the debates so far have been mostly a disaster, seeing as each candidate has only been given a couple seconds to respond and to answer questions, not nearly enough time to actually detail any form of policy or answer in any kind of substantive way. So I think focusing on a single issue is probably a vast improvement from previous debates, and I would love if there'd be other debates in this manner, like a debate exclusively on healthcare, for example. A desperately needed debate on foreign policy would be amazing. I mean, the previous two debates had almost no mention of foreign policy, considering the president's huge influence on foreign policy, almost unilateral control over it since 9/11. So I think that'd be something we should really focus on. But anyway, the debate on climate change is a huge step in the right direction for the Democratic primary debates. Now, what's interesting is that 9 candidates have qualified for the debate so far. The qualification for the debates is that each candidate needs to poll at least 2% in 4 DNC-approved primary polling. So 9 candidates have met that threshold so far. The other candidates have a couple days to have until August 21st to meet the threshold to qualify for the debate. So we'll see if any other candidates actually qualify by then. But what's interesting is that out of the 9 candidates that qualified, 8 of those candidates have accepted the invitation. The only candidate not to do so is Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris decided not to join the CNN climate change town hall because she is going to be busy with her bundlers trying to win over more large dollar donations from wealthy donors. Kamala Harris's top bundlers are hosting fundraisers for her in downtown LA and Hancock Park, which directly conflicts with the town hall. So I think this just speaks to where Kamala Harris's priorities are and her strategy for winning the nomination. She sees it as a better use of her time to win over more wealthy donors to try to outspend and out-fundraise other candidates. Right now in the race, Senator Bernie Sanders has the most individual donations by far, but also the most money raised altogether, with over $30 million raised. So Kamala Harris is probably scared because the insane grassroots support for Bernie Sanders makes her, look horrible. She's been outraised by Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who is, or was, a little-known candidate mayor from South Bend, Indiana, a town most of us had never heard of just a couple months ago. And she is the senator to the largest state in the country and has been out fundraised by Bernie Sanders, and she's been almost completely eclipsed now by former Vice President Joe Biden, who she briefly took a lot of supporters from after the first debate over comments Joe Biden has made and policies he supported, which goes against assimilation of African Americans during the Civil Rights Movement. But Joe Biden has recently taken back pretty much all his support, and Kamala Harris has dropped in the polls dramatically. So she's probably trying to make a desperate push to wealthy donors now that she realizes that she has been unable to get any kind of grassroots support when compared to Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and even Pete Buttigieg at this point. She has become really somewhat trivialized by Joe Biden, who took almost half her supporters by the second debate. Her health care plan that she recently announced, which she calls Medicare for all, but any progressive knows is not Medicare for all, since it leaves the private health insurance market fundamentally intact and takes 10 years to implement. So maybe she's just not looking for grassroots support at this point and doesn't see climate change as a winning issue, being the only candidate not to join in this CNN town hall. Maybe she's scared that, like in the second debate, she will get destroyed and her polling numbers will go down even further to the point of irrelevance. For whatever the reason, she's focusing on campaigning with large dollar donations and bundlers instead of trying to get grassroots support from Americans who care deeply about the climate crisis and the planet as a whole. So let's continue to support candidates who appeal to the people instead of the wealthy and large corporations like Senator Bernie Sanders. And I'm looking forward to seeing the CNN Climate Town Hall to compare all these different candidates' plans for dealing with a climate crisis, and hopefully what will be a more nuanced policy discussion than we've seen in the first two debates. So, see ya. Subscribe for more content, and I'll see you next time, folks.